So the last meeting, I don't know whether, is that a separate meeting where you guys might not have been here? Is that correct?
I think that's it.
Okay, so what the intent was to have some discussion about in a solar application prepared by the APC, what would be the contents of that application? What would be the things that we would want to know about a solar company that's applying to build industrial solar? Because I think the thought behind it, and you guys help me, this is open to everybody. We want to know who this company is. We want to know as much information about this company as we can because of the fact that we are making a long-term commitment to this company with some of the prime resources that we have in the county being, farmland and so forth. So a list of things was prepared or was discussed, and Mr. Glancy was kind enough to put these in text for us. So I will read what he's prepared. He said these aren't minutes, so I'm not going to hold you to that, Todd. They're just an overview, okay? The APC Solar Application Subcommittee met last night. Below is a list of items mentioned during the meeting that the public would like to have addressed in the anticipation or application and the ordinance itself. Please add into the comments additional items, not looking for solutions here, just the issues. The solutions are the next step. In that discussion, we may have been confusing potential solar ordinance amendment items to things that might go in an application. And that's my goal tonight, is to try and go through this list and form some determinations as to whether that would be an application issue or whether that would be the consideration for a possible solar amendment issue. Am I on base so far, guys? Okay. So what we have here is where's the comprehensive plan for solar? Okay. Setbacks, money for decommissioning, tax abatements, buffer zones, buffer zone maintenance, landscape plan, water runoff, groundwater contamination, monitoring water wells, monitoring water runoff, how to inform the public, notice newspaper is not working, okay, about whatever may be associated with it. Battery storage is a separate issue. It's a problem, may require a new ordinance. Disclosure of financing, disclosure of ownership, foreign or domestic, long-term plan for the company's history, experience with other solar projects, reports on the performance of previous solar projects. Has the company complied correctly with all laws at every level? Limit the size based on the capacity of the grid. Conflicts of interest with the companies and county. Where does solar equipment originate? What are the specific model numbers of the equipment and company name? Provide the MSDS, material safety data sheets. That's what MSDS stands for the equipment, solar panels, batteries, storage, etc. Provide the performance data for equipment. Safety history report for the equipment, UL certification report, company's plan, total acres, where and why, IDEM's role, decommission plan and plan for replacement during the project, where do they go, recycle, erosion control, drainage plan, glare and noise abatement plan, rodent control plan, site plan, drainage, oil, gas wells, compatibility to the local area, topography, etc. Complete subsurface geographic study completed. Inspections for site function, water testing, soil testing, glare, noise, fire, how often, who is responsible. Inspection logs, data, make them public, inventory of equipment log, emergency action plan, all fire departments are equipped and trained, Where are the inspection reports and logs filed and stored? Honestly, all this was brought up in that meeting, everything on this list.
And some of that was also from the public.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it out on the website and stuff.
Okay, so you did get responses.
Input from the public too.
Okay.
That was added in.
Okay. Michael Duke shared, he was here, list of some data items to have on an industrial solar development application. Developers, corporate organization. Disclosure of financing for project is financing from company's asset-based or a leveraged mortgaged source or other. Disclosure of development company's long-term plan for ownership of this industrial solar farm once online and operational. When and who does the developer expect to pass ownership to, through lease or through sale? Developers' contamination mitigation processes for panels, for battery storage, for groundwater, water table, residential, agricultural wells. Disclosure of potential conflicts of interest with local business relationships, local and state elected officials. Disclosure of sources of construction material, American or foreign. That's a lot of information. I wish I had copies for that help. Probably would, wouldn't it? So I guess what I'd like to do is just kind of get an opinion as I read these again, whether that is something we want to consider for an application or whether that could be a potential amendment item.
So what I put together is an Excel sheet here, and I've got application, we'll put it towards an application, each one of these line items, or the ordinance, or both, or other.
Okay.
So I'll just go through and take everybody's vote, or however we want to do it, and we'll classify these things.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
We are currently under
A moratorium until August 5th.
moratorium. And where's our meeting in August? Our particular meeting?
I don't know that.
Not really numbers on this.
It would be the 5th of August.
On the 5th. So we have a moratorium that goes right up till August. Does this give the impression we are beginning to work? We've made statements, I think it's posted up on in our office, that we will not talk about or receive applications, solar, whatever, because we're under moratorium. It's the fact that we're starting now to deal with this. I don't know what the end game is in this, but I would not want this to be interpreted as though we are ignoring moratorium that
Well, that's been a good question, Bob, and I don't know that we've ever got a concrete answer on what can occur and what can't occur in a moratorium. I mean, it's very apparent that the commissioners provided a resolution for us to work on amendments.
And we have how long to do that?
Well, we have a time frame that
60 days?
60 days to bring it to a hearing. 60 days after the hearing to bring it to a vote. I know that normally a lot of people vote right after a hearing, but you have another 60
Got
to
120
deliberate
days.
and schedule a vote. And 10 days to get it back to the commissioner.
So
100 days. 30.
I'm trying to understand why we would put ourselves in any kind of jeopardy or interpretation where we are perceived as violating the. What is the purpose of us doing this? I think Ed and you guys maybe have discussed that. I just don't understand. Maybe it's the timelines. Maybe if we start this right now, that increases us an extra 60 or an extra 100. What are we doing?
think we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, sure,
A
we've got a lot of work to do.
small start at the application.
Commissioners did not put this thing under moratorium without thought. What that motive was for election purpose. Happened to be, I don't know. I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are seriously stepping back, and I'd like to honor that. And they decide to not honor it, then we've still got all kinds of time for there's a transition of authority. What do you think? I don't know. Talk to me.
It seems to me like, yes, we should honor the moratorium and we shouldn't take any applications until then. But until it's extended, we should assume that we're supposed to start the process of accepting applications beginning August 6th. There's an ordinance on the books of what this looks like, and there hasn't been an amendment, and they haven't extended the moratorium. And it seems like it's the Area Plan Commission's job to make sure we're ready to receive. I mean, I'm almost going the opposite direction. It seems like we're supposed to be ready, in theory, to accept applications on August 6th. And if we're just now getting an Excel sheet with 35 potential items, I think we're behind the eight ball. And like Mr. Hartman said, I don't think it's disrespectful to a moratorium. I mean, I planned my wedding before I was married. That didn't mean I was doing husband and wife things beforehand. It was like, you have to have some planning. You don't want to just show up that day, figure out what it is all you're supposed to do. I think, and if it's extended, most people here would love that. But we need to be ready, quote, worst case scenario, that we're supposed to be accepting applications in August.
Do we find out about that? You know, that's a good question. Should we, at this point in time, seek an extension of the moratorium until such time that
Good luck with that, Bob.
If I might offer, I've only heard this as Scopa. If at the last commissioners meeting, I understand comments made by one commissioner, not the one that was in the room tonight, that they might be thinking about an extension to the moratorium. Did I hear that incorrectly through the rumor mill?
Hear that? I wasn't there.
I heard that from down the street. Who was at the meeting?
I don't think that came out in the meeting, Michael.
The question that Mr. Bothwell asked, I've been asking myself. And I think I've asked it to a couple of different people that are here in the room. Is the discussion's even been happening like at the drainage board, where they came up with a recommendation that went to the commissioners a couple of weeks ago, proposed and it was voted upon to present to the APC for an amendment to the existing ordinance.
That would be the resolution I mentioned.
Right, that's what I believe. Would there be, and I'm sorry if I sound like a beat dead horse, but the question of the authenticity of current ordinance being in question because there was not a public hearing on that ordinance. Should we even be considering amendments to the quote existing ordinance when there could still be question about its true authenticity because of lack of public? Again, I'm offering a thought out there.
Well, it's the definition of the moratorium was not well defined. I have not seen the motion, see exactly what the wording is for the motion. They made the moratorium motion. Are they talking, just not going to take any more applications, or we're not going to work on it at all? So we've already set the precedents, the commissioners have set the precedents that they've already made actions. They've hired an attorney. They've done those actions. There's several actions that the commissioners have already done to move the whole solar project forward. So I'm thinking that this is appropriate because of their leadership in this. And what was their definition? What was their definition of moratorium? We were thinking, right? No activity. Their definition was undefined as far as I know, because I've not read the motion. But maybe there was.
No
we're just not
activity, they
gonna
wouldn't have
take
sent
an
us a
application.
resolution.
Pardon?
If there was no activity, they would have just sent us a resolution.
Exactly. Exactly.
What's Ed?
Well, we forced the issue, there needs to be an application.
Yes.
The Commissioner's attorney, Kyle Persinger, feels that the application is in the ordinance. But he felt that was inadequate. Doesn't ask to hear the questions asked who we would be doing business with. What needs to be submitted with the application. So we forced that issue. I think we kind of need to make moves on that so that we're going to follow through with it. I don't want to put it off, come to the end of the moratorium and they say, oh, solar developer, just turn it in based on what you see in the ordinance.
I agree completely.
Once it's here, you got to deal with it then.
What's the grounds or what is the potential action of this the APC as far as when they receive an application? What can they use to either deny it or accept it? The ordinance is not complete enough, you're saying, to be able to make that determination.
I'm saying the ordinance is inadequate as far as the application requirements.
And if the company complies with what currently exists in demand, then they can hold you to that without you being able to change that. What the concern is.
They rush one in.
Does this body know this time what will occur after August 5th? What you're required to do? Does the APC office know that at this time?
Required to entertain applications.
And what does that mean? I mean,
But what I don't know is whether this resolution that the commissioners have proposed stops applications. If David needs to research that with us, because the question is, if an application came in and we're in the amendment process, what are they applying? They don't know what ordinance they're applying to based on whether there's changes in the
that
ordinance.
was my concern when Clayton stated. I guess my thought is if you have to start receiving applications August 6th, you better be ready to receive applications August 6th, whatever that means.
You know, I don't know that we won't have to receive applications on August 5th. I haven't
Fear
got a
would be
clear
if
answer.
you have to receive them and they've complied with whatever exists at that point, then you deny it, I guess. I don't know.
If I'm a solar developer, with all the money we're concerned they have and all the connections we're concerned that they have, I read that there was a moratorium through August 5th. Now it's August 10th, and I have a contract with the private landowner. I can go to court and say, I have the right to develop on this because there's no ordinance against it. Ordinance on the books, this is what it says, I'm following the law. And they would look very good in court. It seems like this is, if what you're wanting to do is restrict solar development, then we need to decide what those restrictions are before they beat us to the punch. Because I agree there's concerns about is it legitimate, but right now it's on the books. It's stamped by the recorder. I mean, a private company could contract with a landowner, and that would be a binding contract under the ordinance that was in place at that time, and every court in the land would support it.
What we don't know is where the receipt of applications falls in regard to the resolution that the
Seems like we want to prepare for the worst case scenario.
Absolutely. I'm ready to move through and decide whether these are going to be application or amendment items.
What can we achieve here? What are we hoping to be able to?
Well, again, maybe I'm out of bounds, and impeach me if you guys want to be perfect for tonight. I'd ask Todd, you know, if we get these things broken down, to give us a rough draft of what the format of an application may look like with these items inserted. Right, Todd?
Right. I agree.
It seemed like, just to be on the conservative side, that put them all in the application, right? Is that what you're saying?
Some of them want to be
Some of them are
ordinance
amendment
amendments.
items.
Yeah.
Some of them are
Why can't you put them in, I mean, to be
I mean
really strict,
ordinance items.
why can't you put them in both?
Yeah, some of them will be, like they'll be part of
I'm
the.
saying just to make it easier on yourselves, all of them. Okay, all these concerns, put them in there. Is there any reason not to, I guess, is my.
Just be, no.
I mean, there's a couple of duplicates. I mean, it seems like there'd be we'd want to clean it up maybe a little bit.
Well, maybe, but I'm just saying in general terms, why not just put them in there?
Could we adopt what we want to adopt and maybe have our attorney put some kind of disclaimer on the bottom of it in case something goes south? For the 6th? Is that a possibility?
Talking politics, we have the APC, I'm sorry, no, I'm not a member of the committee, but the APC has a lot more authority over what the application looks like than the ordinance.
Yeah.
We have very limited political capital with the commissioners who would have to approve any ordinance amendment. We have almost unilateral authority over what the application looks like within the bounds of that. So there's a politics game of how many restrictions, if we're all going to be cards on the table and figure out how many restrictions can we get through, there's a political game of how many can we push up to the ordinance level and how many are we okay with, do we have to keep at the application level? Because kind of like my discussion about, I'd love to have $100,000 in, mock voting funds, but if you push too hard, they'll just say you get zero. So there's political capital to be spent, I think, on the ordinance side.
Their terms are limited at this point.
No?
What they can do before December 31st is
Mr. Atkins.
Isn't it what a solar company could do with filing an application on August 6th?
that's why I say, why not just make it as restricted as we can?
The right form, or a form that's acceptable to the general public, i.e. the APC and the voters, that the people that spoke in the election, that will put the solar company in the position of answering all those questions, giving you, therefore, the information to make a decision. And I'm thinking, excuse me if I'm reading this wrong, but the timeline is what the next APC meeting, there's compelling motivation here to have develop the list, develop the application, get it in form for review, and probably a special meeting or a couple special meetings of the APC to review that, vote on it,
Make it official.
make it official, and would you have to have a public hearing on that, or is that an internal process issue?
I don't know.
The purview of the APC.
That'll be a question for David when he gets back from vacation.
Not for an application.
There's not a lot of time between now and then, for sure. So it would just seem like, and I'm not on the committee, I apologize, but my thought is
That
that
committee isn't, this is open. We're not voting on anything.
the concern would be
We're just
to
proposing
uphold
to the
what
whole commission
uphold
for
the
votes.
public's wishes at this point. And I think that's making it as restrictive as you can right now makes sense, and that can always be changed later on as something else changes in the process. But why not go ahead and make it yourself as restrictive as
One thing
possible?
you can add now, you can't add after you said something.
Can't make it
You
worse.
can't make it more
Right.
restrictive later.
Maybe not.
But
Yeah,
you
not
can
easily.
reduce it after. Yeah.
It just seems like that'd be in your best interest at this point. I don't know.
Todd, what do you think? You got the computer.
Yeah, I'm waiting for setbacks. Which one does he want? Yeah, I mean, we can put them all and line item this stuff into an application. And, yeah. So my question is that it's not clear to me is if an ordinance is in an amendment process, then it's out. Can you use it to, can a solar company come in and say, I want to abide by this ordinance, right, at this date, moratorium's way, but wait, the ordinance in an amendment process, so, it's in flux, so we can't use it right yet. You're gonna have to wait till we get the ordinance done. That just seems like that would be illogical.
Well, since it was already passed, if it hadn't been passed and it was in amendment and in deliberation, that's one thing. But the commissioners voted and approved it. I mean,
Yeah, but right now it's an amendment process.
Yeah.
Because they just turned it over to us in an amendment process. It's an amendment process.
but everything's in an amendment process.
The question becomes, does that in effect make the moratorium extend until that amendment's addressed?
Exactly. That's
I don't
very
know.
much.
That's well, I've got to get David to respond.
According to our area zoning ordinance, you can restrict any applications for 6 months while you're in the amendment process.
Okay, so that extends. So there's a limit to how much we can extend it at least, but we have more 6 months. Okay, so that's good.
Just a minute, if you could. Point of order. Just think about, this is a committee meeting.
No, we've never been called to order.
And so a committee meeting probably should not be televised. Makes it sound like we're trying to hide something, we're not, but it does interfere with people being candidates. That all of this is going to be available to commissioners, whatever. We're talking about sides and strategies and all those kinds of things. That probably should not.
It was advertised as an open meeting, Bob.
Secondly, not a matter of just it being an open meeting. A committee meeting is not a committee meeting if you have majority of your membership present. We do at this point. We're not really in a committee meeting. We are in an open session, a regular meeting, if you will, whatever, because point of order that we need to think about, guys. Things. I don't care. I'll be very candid about the position with this, and I don't know what commissioners think or anybody else. My opinion, and don't mind the world seeing. It's not correct, though.
Okay, we're gonna adjourn this meeting.
That was never started.
It was never started.
Bob's point.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. Maybe we'll be more productive the next time.
Oh, you're calling.
So do I have an action item?
I'm sorry.